We're going to do a quick tour of our presentation this week regarding reading assessment so you know how to best work through the presentation details. We'll start with our story of the week, which is The Gingerbread Girl by Lisa Campbell Ernst. This is one of my favorite stories to use during a gingerbread theme. So check it out, listen to the story, and brainstorm how to use that across the curriculum. If you need any help with your activity, we have the author's book list, just a link to her website and looking at activities that are related to the book, and also another Pinterest board with great activities. So you can browse through those when you brainstorm on your own. Always you can see my ideas, but try to get yours first and then check mine. Read our weekly class message and you can check out everything we're going to be learning about. I do want to see what your prior knowledge is on assessment. So right here, you're going to click into our Padlet board and just tell me your first thoughts when I say the word assessment. What do you say? Don't forget to think about the journal question. Our journal question this week is compare high-stakes assessment to authentic assessment. How will you as a teacher prefer to assess your students, and why is this important to you? Remember, jot that question down as you work through the presentation. Take notes of details so your answer has a lot of good information, and also remember to make that personal connection within your journal. Our first topic within the presentation is the different kinds of assessment. So we're going to do an exclusion brainstorm, which is actually a vocabulary technique that we have learned about this semester. And you're going to see what words do not belong. And I'm going to skip through here so you can't see the answers. Then we're moving on. We're going to do a vocabulary predictor, which was one of our things that we learned about. Just follow the directions on that page. Then we're going to learn a little bit about the difference between assessment and evaluation. We have a podcast right here to listen to. And we'll talk specifically about trends in education right now that are related to assessment. We have a podcast to play up here. High stakes assessment is something you're going to be hearing about a lot in the news and also in schools. We have a podcast to learn more about that. And then looking at the problems. Again, another podcast down here. Then we're moving on to authentic assessment, and please listen to the podcast describing the details of authentic assessment. And then you're going to do a try it out. This is a vocabulary sort that is closed. Closed vocabulary sorts have categories. So we have formal assessment as a category and informal. And what I'd like you to do is cut out the parts below, or even just jot them down on notebook paper and sort the different types of assessment into the two categories. That is a Dropbox activity for participation this week. As you check your answers, I do want you to watch this video. Typically, I give you the answers, and I am going to kind of click through that so you don't look at the answers and cheat. But that video is a bit time consuming, but I have to tell you, it's going to go into detail about the different kinds of assessments. So if you have any hesitation or you did poorly on your sort, please be sure to watch that in depth. The second part is a type of assessment that you will do if you're teaching kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth grade. That's running records. A running record is the most authentic way to assess reading, and we're going to try it out. So there's a podcast where you're going to learn a little bit about what a running record is, but then also watch the video of a teacher giving a running record. Now, I don't want you to be scared, but running records are difficult to administer, and they are difficult to get used to. So you should feel uncomfortable when you're doing this with a child for a while. But practice makes perfect, and by the time you get good at this, you can do it in your sleep. After we learn how to administer a running record, we need to learn how to score it, because the scoring is where you get your information to build instruction for each of your learners. So watch the video analysis of the running record being scored. This we've seen before when we talked about just learning to be a teacher of reading. Those levels are important, so keep those in your head as we move through the presentation. And last but not least, there's some links here. These are apps that will help you as a teacher either score your running record, or we have a calculator here, we have a timer. So these are great tools that if you do this in real life, you want to try out. Please also listen to the podcast up in the corner. This is a cheat sheet for your scoring. A lot of teachers keep that on hand until they understand. Just a review for meaning, structure, and visual. I know we're not in the presentation right now, but meaning is context. It's the content of what you're reading about. It's also your illustrations. So that look at the picture comes from the meaning. A lot of people want to say look at the picture comes from visual, but visual is really what does the word look like, not the picture. And then our structure is our grammar. Please listen to the podcast for more details. Then you get to try it out, and this is scary and exciting all at once. So what I want you to do is go on to D2L and get the running record form. It is a level I form directly from Reading A to Z, which is a great resource website that many teachers are using. Then you're going to play this video, and this is a video of a child reading the story, and you're going to do the running record alongside of the student. So the student will read, and you're going to be the teacher marking off the words. Then you're going to watch the video, and this video is going to show my running record and also talk about what is going on during that running record time. And last, you're going to watch the video of the coding or the analysis of the running record. I know there's a lot to do on this slide, but this is the real stuff you'll do as a teacher. Okay, if you're teaching learners in a public school or even a private school, anything where they're reading, you do need to know how to do this. So this is the best way to kind of get that head start. What I want you to do then is Dropbox your running record results, and then click here. It's going to take you to a Padlet board, and I want you to think specifically, if you were this child's teacher, what would you recommend for next week's instruction? What level of book? Right now we're in level I. What level of book would you put the child in next week? What specific skills would you work on? Comprehension skills, fluency skills, word ID skills, phonics skills. What popped out as mistakes that the student was making? And just your recommendation. The third area of assessment is informal assessments other than that running record. So we're going to look at multimodal assessment, and there's a podcast for you. Portfolio assessment, which is actually not a form of assessment, but is where we will keep their assessments. And there's an explanation and a podcast to go along. Here also you can see it in action. And teacher observation, which is probably your biggest go-to way to informally assess students. Now, I want you to make sure you listen to the podcast and also kind of explore the different recording systems. If you noticed in your lesson plan writing, you always have to have a place to put what you've observed, so that we'll really hit that this week. And then looking at online resources for assessment. So if you have any more questions or something that you'd like to share, great idea, please post here. Also, play the video. Here are your assignments for the week. You are going to complete your weekly journal. We already talked about that. You're going to complete your weekly literature sharing. It does say testing Miss Malarkey. That'll be changed by the time you get in there because you have the Gingerbread Girl. I changed out some books. You have Padlet board. You have 4 Padlet participation activities and 2 Dropbox activities. You should pin 10 assessment resources, and you can get those directly from that last slide we just saw. And then skim chapter 11 to look at writing, which is our next presentation. Keep working on that children's book list and curriculum alignment project. Have a great week.